If you're building a product or an app right now, and you don't happen to have a traditional design background, trying to get a truly beautiful, functional user interface usually feels, well, completely impossible.
Yeah, totally impossible.
Right. Like you might have the back end working flawlessly, the database is totally optimized, the core logic is all there. But when you try to actually make it look good for the end user, it just kind of falls flat.
It's the classic developer struggle, honestly.
Exactly.
hmm
And sure, you can turn to, off-the-shelf AI tools to generate a layout, but they almost always spit out these generic cookie-cutter templates.
Right. The ones that look like literally every other sauce site on the internet.
Yes, you end up with something functional, I mean, sure, but it has zero soul, no unique identity.
Well, the problem with those generic AI outputs is that they're trained on the absolute average of the entire web.
Right.
They are literally designed to give you the most statistically probable layout. So if you want your app to look like, I don't know, a generic tech company from 2021, they're great.
Which nobody really wants.
Yeah, exactly. But if you have a specific brand DNA, they fail completely because they just don't have the context of what makes your product unique. They don't know your specific typography rules or how you handle spacing or, your distinct visual voice.
So today's deep dive is about breaking down a completely different workflow. We are looking at an incredible source from a startup advisor and 15-year design veteran who documented a way around this.
And he completely flips the script on how we use these tools.
He really does. He demonstrates how to use the newly released Claude design and Claude code to basically reverse engineer a custom design system directly from his own existing code base. And then, and this is the wild part, automate the creation of high-quality, perfectly branded web pages.
It's a huge shift.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because if this works at scale, it fundamentally changes what it means to build for the web.
Absolutely. And to ground what we're talking about today, we really have to define the ultimate mission of his workflow.
Right, the actual goal here.
Because we are not talking about an AI generating a pretty mock-up. We aren't talking about, a static PNG file that you look at, send to a Slack channel, and say, wow, cool concept.
Yeah, anyone can do that now.
Right. The entire goal here is crossing the chasm from a visual asset to actual functional production-ready code that lives inside your application repository.
Okay, so before you can build new, beautiful pages that actually fit your app, you need a blueprint. The AI has to understand your specific vibe.
Exactly.
So looking at his process, he starts with getting Claude Design to learn his brand's unique style. And honestly, I would have assumed he just spent 3 hours writing a massive encyclopedic prompt.
Like, make it look modern but approachable.
Yeah, like use a hint of forest green, give it a cyberpunk edge, that kind of thing.
That is the traditional approach, and it almost always leads to frustration because human language is actually a terrible way to describe complex visual relationships.
It really is.
What he did instead was operate entirely through constraints. He bypassed the massive prompt completely. He simply took a folder of raw front-end code for a bare-bones project he was already building.
The project is called Orchestrate, right?
Yes, Orchestrate. It's an agentic workspace platform. He literally just dragged that raw code folder directly into Claude Design.
Wait, hold on. Just the raw code? Because I'm looking at his notes, and he didn't even upload his custom fonts.
Nope.
He didn't upload his vector logos or like a Figma file. Just a folder of front-end code and a couple of random image assets, including this one specific hazy, pastel, dithered background image.
That's all he gave it.
How does an AI even extract a visual design system from a bunch of text-based code?
Well, this is where we have to look at the underlying mechanism, because it's not looking at the code the way a human looks at a picture.
What is it doing then?
When you drop a folder of React components and CSS files into an advanced model, it's parsing the semantic structure. It's mapping the document object model, tracking the CSS variables, recognizing like a mathematical patterns.
Oh, I see.
For example, it notices that a specific hex code, say a dark charcoal gray, is only ever applied to primary headers.
Okay.
Or it sees that a bright green hex code is exclusively tied to user action success states. It calculates the exact padding and margin ratios you use for your buttons. Basically, it reads the raw logic of your design and translates that into abstract design tokens.
Man, it's like walking into a fully baked house. The drywall is up, the paint is on the walls, the hardwood floors are laid.
Right.
And instead of you having to guess how it was built, an AI walks into the living room, looks around for a few seconds, and instantly draws up the exact architectural blueprints. It isolates the specific paint swatches and prints out the exact lumber and material lists the original builders used.
That is a perfect analogy. That's exactly what happened here.
And the output was just wild. It perfectly identified his typography,
Yeah.
calling out that he was using a font called OVO for the display text and Helvetica Neue for the dense body copy.
Identifying the typography is impressive, sure. But what's fascinating here is how it synthesized the non-code assets.
You mean that background image?
Yeah, that single pastel dithered background image he uploaded. The AI didn't just ignore it or use it as a static background. It analyzed the pixel data and explicitly wrote a definition for the brand's overarching photography style.
No way.
It formally defined his aesthetic as warm foreground plus cool sky.
Just from that one image.
From one image and a raw code tree, it wrote a comprehensive brand style guide that would normally take a boutique design agency, a month to finalize.
And it even picked up on his copywriting quirks. Like, it noticed the use of M-dashes in his existing copy and added that to the brand rules. It documented everything in about 5 minutes.
It's very reminiscent of features we've seen in tools like Google Stitch, where an AI essentially builds a reusable component library you can copy over to keep your team aligned.
Right.
But the crucial difference here is the origin of the data. This isn't an external, prepackaged library you're forcing your application to adopt. This is the native, organic language of your own app.
Finally being formalized by something that can read the whole code base at once.
Exactly.
Well, having a perfect blueprint is great, but a blueprint isn't a house. Can the AI actually use these newly extracted rules to build something completely new from scratch that stays flawlessly on brand?
That is the real test.
Yeah. So looking at the next phase of his workflow, he puts it to the test by prototyping a high-fidelity SEO comparison page.
And the prompt he used for this generation was shockingly minimal. Because the AI already held the entire Orchestrate design system in its context window, he didn't need to explain anything about the visuals.
So what did he type?
He literally just typed Orchestrate versus OpenAI Codex SEO page.
That's it. Wow. And the resulting UI was, in his words, insanely good.
But he wasn't just talking about a flat layout, was he?
No, the AI actually built an interactive tweaks panel directly into the prototype.
Okay, a tweaks panel. What does that actually do?
That panel represents a massive leap in how we interact with generated design. It allows the user to dynamically adjust the layout structural logic on the fly. Give me an example.
So he could go to the feature comparison table, which, by the way, is a notoriously difficult UI element to design well, and toggle the data density from compact to comfortable with a slider.
Oh, that's smart.
He could toggle entire sections of the page on and off just to see how the negative space reacted. And aesthetically, it perfectly applied the M-dashes. It used his specific dark gradient overlays for the background, and it built these complex, interactive accordion menus for the FAQs.
Okay, visually flawless. I totally get it. But I have to stop you right there, because looking at the actual breakdown in the source material, I noticed a pretty massive issue.
Yes, the content itself.
Yeah. The text the AI generated for this comparison page wasn't just Latin placeholder text. It was actively writing the marketing copy. And it was technically wrong.
The hallucinations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The AI confidently wrote out these detailed feature comparisons, and it explicitly claimed that OpenAI Codex is only capable of single-file local edits. Like, it can only handle one task and one document at a time.
Which is very much not true.
Not at all. If you know anything about Codex, it's an incredibly powerful platform for complex agent orchestration across multiple projects and file trees. The AI basically invented a critical weakness for the competitor just to make the creator's product Orchestrate look vastly superior.
That is such a critical realization. It highlights the boundary of the AI's current utility.
Right.
The UI components themselves, like the grid layout, the typography scaling, the interactive accordions, those are mathematically deterministic.
They follow the rule.
Exactly. They are production ready because they follow the rules of the design system. But the semantic meaning behind the content, the actual strategic arguments being made on the page to convince a human buyer, that still desperately requires subject matter expertise.
So it's a great reminder for you listening.
Yeah.
AI is becoming a master front-end designer, absolutely.
Yeah.
But it cannot be trusted as an unsupervised marketing director.
You are still the editor-in-chief.
Always.
Yeah.
You have to fact-check its confident claims because it will happily lie to make your product look better.
Which is a very human trait, ironically. But assuming you go in and correct the marketing copy, you're still left with an incredibly polished prototype.
Right. But a beautiful mock-up inside a design tool is still just a picture. I mean, it doesn't matter how interactive the tweaks panel is. You can't host a Figma file or a Claude prototype on a live domain.
No, you can't.
So how does this workflow actually bridge that gap without the design getting lost in translation?
This is where we move out of the browser and into the local development environment. The creator used a specific handoff feature within Claude Design.
Okay.
When he clicked this, it bundled all the visual logic, the CSS variables, and the structural markup and sent those instructions straight over to the Claude desktop application.
And just to clarify for the listener, the desktop app is running Claude code locally on his machine, utilizing the Opus 4.7 model. This isn't just a chat window anymore.
Exactly.
Claude Code is a command line interface tool that has direct read and write access to his local file system.
Precisely. It is operating within the actual repository of his website. So he gave it a prompt asking it to take the handed-off design, build the actual HTML and React components for the page, and integrate the new page into the existing website's top navigation drop-down menu.
He hits enter, and Claude Code just goes to work. I mean, it generated 881 lines of code, distributing it perfectly across multiple files in his local repository. It updated the routing, built the new components, added the CSS classes.
And we have to highlight the contextual intelligence here. It didn't just blindly copy-paste the exact code from the design prototype.
What do you mean?
Well, the AI realized that the prototype included a generic heavy footer section. But because Claude Code was scanning his local repository, it saw that his actual website already utilized a specific minimal footer component.
Oh, wow.
Without being told, it made an architectural decision to strip out the redundant design footer and intelligently reuse the existing minimal footer from his codebase. It integrated the new page seamlessly.
Which sounds like absolute magic. 881 lines of perfect context-aware code. Except, well, I'm looking at his logs. When the creator actually booted up his local development server to look at this brand new page in his browser, it completely crashed.
Yep.
The screen wouldn't load at all. The terminal just started throwing a massive wall of red Tailwind styling errors.
Module build failures, unresolvable CSS utilities, the classic front-end nightmare.
Honestly, if I see a wall of red Tailwind compilation errors, I am going straight to Stack Overflow and losing at least 3 hours of my life trying to figure out which nested div tag is missing a bracket.
Oh, easily.
So what does this all mean? If this workflow is truly supposed to empower a non-technical user, or even just save a developer time, a terminal exploding with red error message is a hard roadblock. How did he actually get past it? Did he have to go line-by-line debugging?
If he had to manually debug 881 lines of AI-generated code, this whole exercise would be pointless. But this error state is actually the perfect demonstration of why agentic coding is a total paradigm shift.
Okay, so what did he do?
He didn't open his Tailwind configuration file. He didn't manually trace the CSS utilities. He simply highlighted the raw text of the terminal error, copied the panic output, pasted it directly back into Claude Code's prompt bar, and hit enter.
He just fed the crash report back to the AI.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, he essentially said, your code broke the build. Here's the output. Fix it.
Wow.
The AI read its own error,
Wow.
cross-referenced it against the code it had just written, identified the conflicting Tailwind classes, and pushed a patch to the local files.
It's like having a sous chef who accidentally burns the sauce, tastes it, realizes it's completely burned, and immediately whips up a fresh, perfect batch before you even have to yell at them.
Exactly. Within seconds, it adjusted the code, he restarted the dev server, and boom, there it was.
The exact page from the design tool.
Fully functional on his local machine, perfectly responsive on mobile, integrated into the site's navigation.
Think about what that actually means for the human's role in the software development lifecycle. It shifts the burden of execution entirely.
It really does.
You are no longer the mechanic turning the wrenches and getting grease on your hands. You are the manager pointing out the problems and holding the standard of quality. The AI is doing the manual labor of achieving that standard.
And once you establish that workflow, that's when things get really gross.
Right. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
Because once you realize you can flawlessly generate, design, debug, and code one highly optimized, perfectly branded SEO page in about 15 minutes, you start thinking about scale.
If the marginal cost of creating a beautifully designed, deeply researched web page drops to near zero, the logical next step is automation. Which brings us to the final part of his deep dive utilizing the routines feature in the Claude desktop app.
So the creator didn't just stop at making one orchestrate versus codex comparison page.
Hmm.
He went into the desktop app and configured a routine he literally called the daily SEO page build.
Right.
He set a cron job for this routine to run automatic entirely in the background every single day at 9 a.m.
And the instructions he gave for this routine were incredibly comprehensive. We are talking about true agentic orchestration here. He didn't just tell it to write code.
What are the steps?
He instructed the local AI agent to wake up at 9:00 a.m., independently browse the web to research new SEO topics with high search traffic potential specifically for his niche.
Okay.
Then it had to outline the content for those topics using that newly established design template we just talked about.
Right, the orchestrate DNA.
Exactly. And finally, it was tasked to automatically write the copy, generate the code, resolve any tailwind errors, and push 3 brand new pages to his project.
3 new, fully coded, custom-designed, SEO-optimized web pages every single morning. Before he even finishes his first cup of coffee, his website has grown.
It's incredible.
I mean, this isn't just about saving time on coding anymore. This is about productizing an entire workflow. You aren't just using an AI assistant to help you type boilerplate code faster. You're essentially hiring an automated full-service SEO and design agency that operates silently out of your local desktop.
This raises an important question, though, about the fundamental barrier to entry for digital businesses today.
How so?
Well, think about what it took, even just 2 years ago, to build a massive footprint of high-quality, localized SEO landing pages. You needed an entire department.
Oh, totally.
You need an SEO researcher to analyze keyword volume, a specialized copywriter to draft the content, a UI designer to make sure the pages looked credible, and a front-end developer to actually build, debug, and publish the code.
You're talking about tens of thousands of dollars in payroll and weeks of cross-department communication just to spin up a basic campaign.
Precisely. And now this workflow proves that a solo founder, a single person with a vision and an internet connection, can execute at the scale of an entire digital agency.
The leverage is entirely unprecedented.
You establish the visual design DNA once, you build the structural template once, and then you simply set the machine to scale it indefinitely.
It's just wild to think about the sheer volume of output. Let's recap the journey we just went on for everyone listening, because we covered a massive amount of ground today.
We really did.
We started with nothing but a raw folder of React and CSS front-end code. We watched an AI extract a complete, deeply nuanced design DNA from that raw code in about 5 minutes, figuring out typography, semantic colors, and even photographic style.
From one image.
Right. We used that extracted DNA to build a stunning, interactive prototype with a dynamic tweaks panel. We translated that visual prototype into 881 lines of real, functional code using a local command line agent.
And fix the bugs.
Yes, when the dev server crashed with tailwind errors, the AI read its own crash report and instantly patched its own bugs. And finally, we saw how to automate that entire complex sequence to run entirely by itself every single morning at 9:00 a.m., generating 3 new pages a day.
It is a complete closed-loop system from aesthetic conception all the way to scalable code execution. And frankly, it leaves us with a rather profound implication to consider regarding the future of the internet itself.
Yeah, weigh it on us. Where does this actually lead?
Well, if AI tools can now perfectly clone your brand's custom design system and automatically code highly polished, visually stunning SEO pages while you sleep, what happens to the internet when every single business, no matter how small or inexperienced, has this exact capability?
That is the big question.
For the last decade, a beautifully designed website was a powerful signal. When you landed on a page with flawless typography, perfect negative space, and custom interactive components, it told you that company had a budget. It meant they had a team. It signaled credibility and trust.
Right, as a filter.
But when a flawless user interface is no longer a reliable signal of a company's underlying resources or trustworthiness, how will we as consumers determine who is actually real and reliable online? Does the quality of the underlying product and actual human reputation still win out? Or is the web about to become an endlessly generating, perfectly formatted volume game?
If the impossible standard of yesterday is suddenly the baseline default of tomorrow, well, that changes the psychology of every click. Something for you to think about next time you see a gorgeously designed site that seems just a little too perfect. We'll leave you with that.